Before I settled into my normal night of tracking hockey games and scores and all that wonderful stuff and turn the TV on, the cable part, anyways, um, in between doing videos in the morning and then watching hockey at night, I jog on this sucker for about 45, 50 minutes. Today, it was 54 minutes and 52 seconds at 5 miles an hour. And I did 702 calories or a distance of 4.572 miles. Now, when you're doing that every day, you need something on TV to occupy your mind, or else you start thinking about how tiring it is, how far you've had to go, and just how much farther you have left to go. So I had held off on watching Blade Runner 2049 for a while. Yeah. And I held off for a reason. The original Blade Runner is a really... It's a dense movie with a lot of layers to it that, honestly, it looks really, really pretty. The narrative is different. The narrative is really different. And sometimes it's hard to follow, to be honest. So, watching Blade Runner 2049, I knew at 2 hours and 47 minutes was going to be tough. So, I decided, okay, I'm going to do my workout, and then I will stop the movie at the end of that scene, and I'll move on. So it took 3 days. I finished it yesterday, and honestly, splitting it into 3 parts like that made it easier for me to digest it and really, really enjoy it. I think I enjoy it more than the original. Now, this is where the idea of my favorite movies versus the best movies comes in. Yeah, I know the greatest, best-made movies ever might be some of the ones I may not enjoy very much. They might be technically really well made. The script's great. The acting's fantastic. But I would fall asleep. Now, Blade Runner 2049, if you haven't seen it, if you've been avoiding it, I'll say this in its favor. There is no big battle. You're waiting. You're like, oh, there's going to be this big uprising. Here it comes. Because we're conditioned now that in this day and age of big budget movies, everything, there has to be a big battle, there has to be a big uprising, there has to be the big, huge clash. You're even like, there's going to be this big comeuppance for the bad guy. He's going to, oh boy, he's going to get it. And no. Neither of those things happen. And yet you reach an ending to this movie which is satisfying and kind of open-ended, like the original Blade Runner. The original Blade Runner is open to interpretation. It's all kinds of different, whether you are of the mind that he was just a cop doing a job, he was a cop doing a job, but he was guided, he's a replicant, whatever you think is at the ending, sure. And at the end of this one, kind of the same thing. Kind of the idea of, all right, whatever you might think has happened here has happened. There are characters you're not sure. Wait, so is he dead then? You don't know. Is he alive? You don't know. So what happened after that? You don't know. They just go to black. And it's left for you to think about it. Now, I can see how that would put some audiences off, especially at the end of a movie that's 2 hours and 47 minutes, where it actually makes you think about stuff. You don't want to think about stuff. You want stuff to blow it up and blow it up good. You don't want to be thinking about stuff after. And this is where, Scorsese and others, Coppola has come out and said that the Avengers movies and those types of movies are destroying cinema, blah, 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 blah. I guess they forget the old Superman movies in the 80s didn't destroy cinema. They're different. I think probably where they're taking issue is that now Hollywood's become those Superman movies of the 80s. And it's because that's where the money is. Hollywood will always go where the money is. But there are still good movies to be found that are artistic, really well done, great scripts. And they don't involve a bunch of stuff getting blowed up good. And Blade Runner 2049 is, I have to watch it again. I'm well aware I need to watch it more than once. This is not a movie you could just sit through for 2 hours or 47 minutes and then stand up and go, all right, I understand everything that happened in that movie. That's a perfectly clear narrative. Thank you very much. I understand everything. You don't. And if you do, then kudos, because I didn't. At the end of this movie, I went, okay, I like it. I like some of this. But what? There were a few characters that took these severe left or right-hand turns. And so I have to watch it again knowing the ending to go, okay, I can see where that comes from. I can see why that character that I initially thought was going to be a good person turned out to be a complete jerk. This person that I thought was just heartless turned out to be pretty cool and was actually protective of the lead character. So I need to go through it all over again and understand and get through it. And that's a testament to how good the movie is. Now, that is part of what I qualify as an enjoyable movie. A good example is The Big Lebowski. I can watch Big Lebowski. I can watch it right now. You can throw it on the TV right now. Like, all right, Lebowski it is. Let's get this going. And that's the criteria I use for what my favorite movies are. For me, my favorite movies are ones that if I'm flipping through channels and it's on, I'll stop and I'll go, oh, well, I'm on this channel for a while. All right. The most recent example of that would be Happy Death Day or Happy Death Day to You. With Halloween having been upcoming in October, of course, it was on regularly on TV. And I'd be flipping through channels like, there's nothing on TV. Oh, Happy Death Day. All right, I'll watch this. Oh, and the sequel's right after? Perfect. Yeah, I'll watch them both back to back. Even though the start of Happy Death Day to You kind of makes me rage a little bit. But that's not for here or there. And I think that's part of what I like with Blade Runner 2049. There's nothing in this movie I looked at and I went, that doesn't make any sense with what happened in the first movie. This is totally there's no cohesion between the two movies. It all seems to flow and make some sense. Maybe it helps having a narrative that can be hard to follow, that can be more of a stylistic movie than a narrative movie, but each scene in this movie is so beautifully framed, beautifully set up. The soundtrack is so fantastic. There are so many just unbelievably beautifully shot. You would think Kubrick made it. When you're watching this, you would think it's so well plotted out. I'm not talking about the narrative. I'm talking about the way that the rooms are set up, the way the characters make their entrances, the way it's lit. Everything is so well done. You would think it was a Kubrick movie. You would think you were watching like The Shining or Clockwork Orange, one of these beautifully shot Kubrick movies. And it is at the same time its own creation, and I can't say anything bad about it. Ryan Gosling was fantastic. It's weird, but I understand, and I read some reviews on his acting where they said, he's found his niche, and it's being stoic. And yeah, there are moments in this movie where he doesn't show outward emotion, but you can tell he's suppressing emotion. And this movie even made me care for his synthetic AI girlfriend, who wasn't even real. You couldn't even touch her. You just passed through her. And I felt for her. And I thought, if you can make me feel for an AI in a movie and make that one of your best characters, that says a million things. And there was also something that I thought was really nice. There was a really nice touch in this movie, and I'm not going to overtalk it because, again, people have probably already seen it if they wanted to see it, and if you haven't seen it, you may not want to. But the AI girlfriend that he has, clearly a very attractive model. You could tell that in real life, probably just a model, not an actress. At least that was how she looked to me. I didn't recognize her at all. But she throughout the movie, and remember, this is his AI, can do whatever he wants. And she was always dressed. She was always very nice. She was always sweet. Even when there's sort of a love scene that's in there, you don't see anything. Then later on, there's a scene where he sees that AI, because she's not the only one with that face, right? Because they designed this face with the idea that, hey, men want a woman that looks like this, so we're going to make a bunch of AIs that look like this. Or this is one of your choices. And they don't really get into that, and it doesn't really matter. But the AI he sees in that situation is the same physical appearance, and she's naked, and it's, how do I put it? And again, he doesn't break character. He doesn't show any outward emotion really, but you could tell like it alarmed him, and it left me thinking, okay, so was this AI designed as like a pleasure AI, and he altered it because he wanted a companion? Or like there's a lot of things I need to look back on in this movie, and I need to watch through again. And it was just really nice how his AI was always, very, I'm not gonna say prim and proper, because she was clearly romantically interested in him, but the design of the AI was to be male pleasure, and here she is, and check her out. And I thought that was a really nice, that they juxtaposed those two things really well. Then I didn't think that could possibly be by accident. I thought this was way too well done for this to just be, not purposeful. This was definitely a purposeful thing done. And at the time in the movie when that other AI is in there and she's talking to him, and you go, wow, that really drives the point home. So if you haven't seen it, do. I'm trying to give as little away as possible because, again, The narrative, it's not really your standard narrative in a movie. It goes in all different directions. And just when you think you're getting ahead of the movie and you're like, oh, I know where this is going, then it goes, and left turn. Oh, you think where we're going? No. Oh, you think that's where we're going? No, we're not going that way either. And it just, it weaves constantly. And I love that. So fantastic job, fantastic movie. And go see it. If, well, I'm not going to say go see it. It's not in the theaters. But it's on digital. It's everywhere. For people who borrow through the means that we have available on the internet. I'm sure it's borrowable, and it is fantastic. If you haven't seen the first one, though, I do recommend watching the first one before the new one, although it's not required. You don't really have to have watched Blade Runner to watch Blade Runner 2049. It's not necessary. Although it does, if you haven't seen the original, it takes the gravitas out of Harrison Ford being out of this movie. Of when he's in it, you get this feeling of, wow, this actually is happening, which you wouldn't if you hadn't seen the first movie. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. I got to fold this sucker up. I got to get some boards up, and I got to watch some hockey. But I wanted to talk to you fine people first about Blade Runner 2049 because the movie was excellent. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you again soon.